Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today. So, welcome to Strong, Grounded, Unstoppable, the podcast which hopefully inspires you with all manner of stories, wisdom, intelligence, and everything else that goes along with that. Now, today I am really happy to have Cornelia Raubal with us today, who I thought was German, but she is so not. And we are going to talk about resilience around the way we both have learnt it, how we both approach it, and the things that have happened in our life which have developed it. So, because we have a passion for this. So, Cornelia, welcome.
Thank you very much, Susie. It's absolutely fantastic to be here, and thank you for the invitation to come and join you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I actually had an invitation from your husband, Johan, who's going to hop on with us another time, out of the blue. And then we talked about you, and I thought, oh, great, she sounds wonderful. And then we had a Zoom conversation.
We did.
But when I looked at your LinkedIn, I thought, oh my God, she's so high powered. Which indeed you are. So where did it all begin for you? You can choose where you want to start with that.
Tough question, in actual fact, because a lot of the perspective I got was having been through all of it and then looking back. I happen to be writing a book at the moment, which in part is about some of the things I've done in my life. And even just going back on that is making me think, oh, the point that I sort of usually attribute to where I ended up, well, where I got to here.
Yeah.
I think it started earlier. But to actually answer your question, I'm going to tell the one, because it's the one, the story for me, it's the most powerful bit. It is that moment where I found myself having to make a choice.
Is this in the steel industry?
It is in the steel industry. Yes.
Go for it.
And so I was in the steel industry at the time that I'm talking about. It was actually fairly early on in my career. And so I was handling contracts. And I can't remember the exact details, but there was something wrong with one of the contracts. And so I went to speak with the trader whose contract it was and say, oh, something's not quite right. And he started just shouting at me and swearing at me. And he was incredibly angry. And I wanted the floor to just swallow me up, because I was in an open plan office at this point. So, of course, everybody else stopped and listened.
Yes.
And they were all watching me. And I just thought, oh, I don't want to be here.
May I ask you a question at this point?
Of course.
Do you think that, obviously he was very rude anyway, but do you think he lost it because you're a woman? Or you're a woman and you challenged him and he just wasn't going to have that?
I think it is both of those things, because I do happen to know that, because I was told subsequently, that he used to like to do that sort of thing to all of the women that worked in that office. So that probably answers a lot about him. But it was also the fact that I did challenge, and particularly when I realised that I knew what I was talking about, and I was quite comfortable with that, and he didn't like that either.
No.
And I found myself at that point where I had to make a choice, because of course I could have disappeared off and gone to another company and perhaps had exactly the same thing again. Who knows? Or I was going to put my stake in the ground and say, right, no more.
Yes.
And I actually decided that that was going to be the point where I made my stand, and I wasn't going to accept that, and that I was going to make sure that I learned how to move through these, and it was a very male-dominated industry, very male-dominated environment, and I needed to learn how to move through that. Because as much as I'd love to wave a magic wand, and particularly for the clients that I work with, to make that all, it's nothing to do with gender or race or anything, It's to do with what do you know, what experience do you have, what can you bring to this. But until that happens, we have to ourselves say, right,
Mm.
this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And when I look back,
I'm going to do.
yes.
So just going back a little to when it was an open plan office and he was screaming at you, and you wanted the floor to open up and swallow you. How did you get past that moment, Cornelia?
Oh, it's when he ran out of steam and stopped shouting and swearing at me. I mean, that is actually it.
So you just waited until he...
Yes, I just stood.
Oh my
I
word.
mean, I hate to say this, but to be honest with you, I was bullied as a child at school as
Mhm.
well, and that actually taught me to hold my ground
Yes,
despite that sort of behaviour from somebody else.
yes.
Now, I don't say that's a great way to actually be. However, it served me in that respect.
Yes, because actually, just to wait and let them rant on, they will eventually hang themselves with their own petard. And also, if you started shouting back, you'd have both been shouting, and when everybody's shouting, no one is listening. No, you're not going to get anywhere.
No.
So I think that was very innately wise of you, and obviously something learned when you were a child, just to stand your ground.
So,
Tell me.
um, so that led me to the point of choice.
Yes.
Do I continue,
Mm.
or do I just back down and go off somewhere else? And as I say, the realization was that I could meet somebody like that
Yeah.
in any workplace that I went into.
Mm.
Now, this is where I was very fortunate that I had my husband supporting me, because he was actually probably the very first person that was a cheerleader for me.
Aw.
And so he was the one that sort of said, yes, go for it. Yes, you can do this. And also he was a great sounding board for me to sort of say, well, I'm thinking of doing this, or how would this be perceived? And he would give me the male perspective on it,
Yes.
which meant that I had a far better understanding of how men's brains would work,
Yes. Yeah.
which did actually help in how I could then react to things as well.
Yes.
And I could be prepared that if I was going to be doing so, for example, contract that had gone wrong.
Mm.
I mean, that happened many times subsequently, after that. So the way that I would approach it is I would actually go with the solution first of all, and then say, oh yeah, and by the way, there is this problem. But I would lead with the solution, and I found that actually took the wind out of their sails very, very quickly.
Yes, because men like solutions, don't they?
They do.
Whereas actually, we women, on the whole, want to be heard. Just to also go back, you say so many interesting things that trigger me. You said that Johan, your husband, was the first person to really be a cheerleader.
Yes.
However, you had got yourself to a place pretty high up in the corporate world, eventually reaching the CEO of a company with an annual turnover of $250 million. And if you tell us a little bit about that. But so surely throughout your life, you had, and having been bullied at school, you learned to become your own cheerleader.
Yes.
And by learning that, you were able to develop yourself and a career. I'm not sure how you chose to go into such a male-dominated environment. How did that happen? And then when you got to become CEO?
Okay. So, for all those that have just finished doing all their GCSEs and A levels and things like that, the truth is I didn't choose. I didn't know what I wanted.
Yeah.
I really didn't. And, so many times we're told, well, we should know exactly what we want. Well, we don't always.
Yeah.
But the way I approach things like this is to take a step at a time.
Yes.
So what did I enjoy doing? Well, actually, I enjoyed learning Russian at school. So I've learned Russian from the age of 13,
Mm-hmm.
and I have had the benefit of being both in the Soviet Union and also in Russia subsequently. So that gives me a very different perspective as well. But
Mm-hmm.
it started with the Russian, and then I went on and did Russian at university. And then when I left university, I still didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to use my Russian.
Okay.
And I got into the steel industry. It started off actually in non-ferrous metals, so it was lead, zinc, copper, and aluminium.
Mm-hmm.
And it came from a one-line advertisement in one of the free magazines that they would give out at the tubes
Good heavens,
stations in London.
tubes in London.
Yes, tube in
Okay.
London.
What,
Yeah.
what was that line? Can you remember?
All it said, it was tiny advert said, Russian speakers wanted and a telephone number. That was it.
It could have been anything.
It could have been anything. I phoned the number and I went along and I had an interview, and they threw this. Well, they didn't throw it at me, but they slid this Russian document across the table and said, "Translate that."
Yeah.
And it was a contract, and it was highly legal language. So a lot of it I wasn't quite sure about, but I translated the meaning, and they said, "Great, that's other than legal language, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Can you start next week?"
And so that's fantastic. What were you starting?
So I was starting as a translator,
Oh,
and then I had other admin duties as well, because obviously it wasn't completely full on Russian speaking at the time. So I did admin duties, and that's actually how I met my husband.
okay.
First day of work there.
Oh,
And then the way that I progressed is purely because I ask questions. I mean, some would say I'm nosy. I say I'm curious.
curiosity. That's great.
Absolutely. So I asked questions. I wanted to know why do you do this? What's this? What's hedging? What does that mean? How does that happen? And I just kept on asking questions, and
Let
that
you learn.
yes, and that has been the way that I've progressed all of the time, just by asking questions.
Yes.
And people like it when you ask questions,
Well,
and
they
you learn
want
lots.
you to be interested in them and what they're doing. And I am, so the path you say led you to become CEO of that company with such a massive turnover. And you say, I've just got your LinkedIn profile up here. On your first day, you could have written a single check for $623 million. Now, that kind of responsibility is huge.
Yes.
But how did you feel at that time?
My initial feeling about that was, this isn't right. This is not good governance. We should not have it like this. I should not be allowed to sign something that on my own for 623 million, because that's just, it's ludicrous.
Really, yeah. Yeah.
So that was one of the first changes I actually made, because it shouldn't be allowed. And so I set up proper governance, so that we had a number of signatories where required, and depending on the amount that was being spent.
Yes. And clearly, through your career, you have learnt a huge amount. And I want to know, I think you must have been incredibly resilient through all of that. How important do you feel resilience was to you? And how important is it, do you feel, because this is something that you help women with in furthering their career. So how important is it to you? Why does it matter?
It matters because it's at the heart of the things that we do. And it's very hard. We have this idea of what resilience is.
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
you hear people talking out in the world about resilience, you will hear different things, because in a way it means different things to different people.
There's not one singular domain.
No.
There's about half a dozen at least of different forms of resilience, and we all have our own.
Yes.
So yours was standing up for yourself, and
Yes. Well, actually, I think truer than that was the fact that I was myself.
I love that.
And I was very comfortable to be myself.
Yes. So you brought that authenticity into the workroom.
Yes.
Which means that you're not faking it, masking it, all of those things which are impossible to continue. I love this, Cornelia. You are such an inspiration for what we both want for women, is to be authentic, to be true to themselves, and to be authentic. And now we approach this from a different way. I have my resilience shifts and mastering mental toughness program, etc., etc. How do you help women with their resilience and growth?
So a lot of it. So, for example, a woman may come to me saying that they're struggling with imposter syndrome.
Okay.
That's a frequent one, or they're lacking confidence.
Mm.
And I think that it's the easy conversation to start for one thing, but usually it's so much deeper than that. It's much more about trusting yourself.
Learning to trust yourself, self-trust and self-belief.
Yes.
Again, all hugely important. All of these elements I cover in the chapters in my Mastering Mental Toughness. But are you talking about specifically for women in corporate fields?
No.
Okay.
So because I think this is applicable across the board.
Oh,
You
yes.
know, of course, I work really well with women in corporate
Yeah.
because that's what I was, and I know what that feels like. So when people are telling me about how, for example, they've been bullied at work, or they've had various things, or they've been overlooked, or they've been that only woman in the room. I mean, I was that only woman in the room for a good half of my career in the steel industry. And so I think, from my perspective, look, my mission is I want to get more women onto boards and more women running their own companies. That's my mission.
Yes.
And there are many aspects to that. But I'm very much of the belief that if I can help one person to trust themselves, to be comfortable in their own skin, and that can take many, many
Oh,
different versions.
there's so many different layers of the self.
Yes,
We are so aligned. I'm hoping that we can work together with what we do
wonderful.
and how we serve at some point. It would be wonderful. So getting women onto boards, how, and working with them so that they feel ready for that, especially perhaps if they are going into into a male dominated environment, which, let's face it, most boards are. How would you begin to prepare a woman to go onto a board, to be a non-exec, or even then work up to being a director? Because you must have been a director. Were you a
Yes.
director? Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, you were CEO.
Yes. Yes. So I did the executive route first,
Right.
which many do in actual fact. But this is where we get in some interesting conversations. I'm going to slightly go to some statistics now, if I
Great.
may.
No, please do.
I'm not going to kill everybody with statistics, but I think this is actually quite interesting
Yes.
from the perspective that the number of, I'm just trying to remember my statistics. I think it's 43%, or no, actually it's near a half. So it's about 49.5% of women on boards are in the non-exec roles.
Okay.
Only 15% are in exec roles, and
This is in UK.
yes,
Okay. 15%. And this
15%.
age, I
Yes.
don't know why I'm surprised, actually.
Yes. And if you look at the problem is with statistics, yes, they're helpful in some respects, but they can also be manipulated to tell the story that whoever's using them wants them to tell. So, for example, we hear about how many more women we now have on the boards than we had, say, 10, 15, 20 years ago. But it hides a lot of the fact that, think of the number of female CEOs on FTSE 100 board. I think it's less than the fingers on one hand now.
About 5.
Yeah, it's 4 or 5. And, we've had all the jokes before. I don't know which of the men's names it is now, but, we have fewer female CEOs than we have men called Steve or...
Oh, Lord, yes. Well, it's actually not very funny, is it? I
No.
find it hard to understand, because I did say a little while ago to somebody, but surely these old, the old bosses are sort of dying out. But somebody said, yes, but then they promote those They
Exactly.
want to follow them.
Exactly.
So it's
And
nepotism as well as patriarchy.
yes,
And
but there's another aspect to that as well, and it's actually not um, it's not a nefarious reason for them doing it. It's that's what we are naturally geared to do.
yes,
Our unconscious mind
yes,
likes the things that we recognize, the
yeah,
people that are lie. We have to get to that position where we say,
yes.
I know that I'm choosing you because you're a white middle-aged male.
Yeah, because like wants like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we have to be aware of those bias. And this can lead us off into a completely different discussion, because we all have bias, and it's recognizing it and realizing and asking ourselves just one question:
Yeah.
is this my bias, or is this real? Because if somebody has got the right qualifications, the right experience, it's I don't actually care what they look like, to be honest with you.
Gender. Yeah, because I mean, what is best for the job? Who is best for this company to help, it grow, take it forward? It doesn't matter. And I remember, oh, it was a wonderful coach, Julie. She said to me, when women go for an interview, apart from the fact that they wait until they're 100% ready to go, whereas men are about 60% before they go for the interview, we need to address that. She said it's not standing in that room and asking, or even yourself, why you would want to hire me because I'm a woman. It's not because you're a woman, it's because of who I am. We've got to put aside this gender thing, and
Yeah.
we need to teach. This is your job, Cornelia, but to teach, to educate those people in these boards that it's not gender, it's best for the job.
Yes.
And there are many women that can do it a darn sight as well as or better,
Yes.
because we are super intelligent and we have the nurturing skills to take other people forward in the business or life with us.
Yes. Yep.
So you, with working for with a woman, you start with herself and it's many layered. Then what?
Again, it depends on what actually comes up. So many women, I'll actually work with them both sort of on their internal as well as external. So it's
Yes.
probably easier if I give you
Yes.
an explanation around one of the clients that I worked with. When she came to me, she was actually referred to me, and she said the words imposter syndrome and lack of confidence.
Okay.
And basically, and lots of the people I work with are in those moments of transition. She had just been appointed into her very first leadership role, and she had been asked to create a 5-year plan, and it had to be presented to the board within 8 weeks or something like that.
Okay.
But she didn't know how to do that. Nobody had ever told her how to do that. Nobody told her what they actually expected that to look like.
Right.
So of course she wasn't feeling confident, and of course she was feeling that she was an imposter. And even worse, and I see this a lot, and this isn't just a woman's issue. Actually, very few of this is just women's issues. But not feeling that you're able to say to somebody in the organisation, actually, I'm not too sure what I need to do here.
Yes. I need
Because
help. Asking
yes,
for help.
exactly.
Because we're admitting weakness, lack of ability, whereas actually we're not. We just, if we haven't been taught before, what's wrong
Exactly.
with asking for help? But that is so hard in any area of life, because it is seen as, makes you feel like less than.
Yes.
And I learned in life that when we ask for help, it makes that person we're asking feel great about
Yes.
themselves, and they want to help, and all our serotonin levels raise, and it's good for us.
Yes.
So did you then teach her that it's okay?
Yes.
Okay.
So we work together on both things at once. So the internal lack of confidence, doubt in herself, not trusting herself, and also the practical skills as well. Because, as I say, if she didn't have anybody to tell her how to do it or show her how to do
Yes.
it,
Yes.
then it's very hard to pluck that information out
Yeah.
of thin air.
Yeah.
And so and that's what sets me apart with my approach. It's a dual approach. And sometimes one side wins over the other ones, but she actually presented that 5-year plan to the board, and they were incredibly impressed with how well she'd done,
Yeah.
how well she had put everything together, and how well she presented it. So they
Wonderful.
started talking about actually getting her to do other things as well, promote her further.
So, and that's really good. So you helped her turn something that was really scary, and that's a mild word for it, into a triumph, not just a success, but a
Yes.
triumph. Can I ask you how, or may I ask you, nowadays we have the assistance of AI. Was this before AI, or if it was during the times of AI, did you allow or encourage some AI assistance with planning this, or did that not come into it?
That didn't come into it at all.
Mm.
Um,
Good.
Again, we can go down a rabbit hole and start talking about AI.
Mhm.
Invariably, I think if AI can help you do what you want to
Mm.
do, it is a tool.
Yes, but not
No,
do it for you,
no,
because she wouldn't have been able to
no,
stand there and back up any
exactly.
questions.
And where's the learning in just having an AI do something for you?
Yes.
I
Yes.
even if I'm using it for something, I have to have the original thought, and it's more a case of just clarifying and also
Yes.
asking questions. I mean, let's say we come back to asking questions.
Yes.
That's so powerful, whether it's a tool that we're
Yeah. Yeah.
interrogating or a person.
With AI, I have a very strong text that I would put in, and then I'll always tweak it and amend it afterwards. But
Yes,
it does some of the heavy lifting in some
yes,
respects, and for me, that works
yes.
well. So, um, what time is it now? Is there something that you would like to, a question that you wish I would ask you, and therefore just give me the answer, something around what you do, what your passion is for taking what you do further in working with, is it women or most women, isn't it? Because it's obviously getting women into the boardroom.
Yes. So I talk a lot about women because obviously that's my experience.
Mm,
I had that experience of being the only woman in the room. But I actually think it is applicable to others as well. You know, I frequently talk about if you are a minority, you have exactly the same sort of issues,
mm,
a minority in anything,
mm.
because you have that bit where you are almost told that you don't belong.
Well, yes. And when I published my 2 anthologies of women's stories, also different, also powerful, in Women of Spirit, I actually, in a press release, I said, this isn't really just about women. This is a body of humanity. We're all
Yes,
human first. We're born a human being, and then everything else follows. And we all have very similar issues because we are human.
yes,
Um, I did want to ask you, you had another story, I think, which I loved, about being shouted at, and then you proved something, and the result
yes,
was fantastic.
yes.
Can
I think
please tell us that story before?
I think this was also steel industry as well, and unsurprisingly, it was the same company that I had the very first experience in as well. So this actually shows already how much I had grown from the very first incident, and
Brilliant.
that was so it was a slightly different one,
Yes,
and it was one of the other traders this time,
yes.
and um, again, I can't remember what the actual. I was 100% sure that I was right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably something to do with shipping or something like that. I can't remember.
Mm.
And I can remember being in this trader's office. So it was away from everybody else's prying eyes, if you like. It was just the two of us. And I can remember this so clearly because he was sat behind his desk, sort of leaning back and telling me that I was wrong and all this sort of thing. And I was arguing with him. And it was quite a heated argument, I have to admit.
Keep your ground.
I did, absolutely, because I knew that I had it correct.
Yeah.
And I can remember this because I just got so annoyed with him at one point because he was not really, or it felt to me as if he wasn't really listening, that I actually leaned forward, put my hand on his desk, and I was basically pointing at him, telling him that he was wrong.
Yeah. Actually speaking in the language and the body language that he knew.
Yes,
that was what. Yeah,
exactly. And I can just remember he leant back in his chair and just started laughing, because actually I think he was trying to provoke a reaction and to see whether I would actually stand my ground and argue for something that I knew was correct. But after that, I was one of his people. So actually it meant that he made sure that I was actually okay.
Yes. So he was it was a test he was putting you through.
Yes.
Ooh, well done for passing it, for goodness sake. So I think you're fantastic. And I would love to know, before we go, one thing that you would like to say to our audience, especially women, that you feel would be a good takeaway for them from your experience with what you've done through resilience and standing up for yourself.
So I think it's the fact that we have such fantastic genius within us already. And we have to trust ourselves to let that genius come out of us. It's not about, oh, I need to learn this or I need to do this, because it's actually already there.
Yes.
But society, unfortunately, tells us not to trust that voice. But we have that capability already. We're not always given opportunity, but that's something that's completely different.
Yes.
But
yeah, and I think also self-belief and self-trust may well have been, I'm not going to say beaten, but emotionally beaten out of us through the years. And so it has to be rebuilt, and we help with that. So
I think also, just to add another thing on this, and because this is something that comes up and people are surprised about every time I say it.
Okay.
What we're talking about here isn't a woman's issue. It's actually leadership and a business issue and a culture issue, so workplace culture. So I do quite a bit of training for the NHS, their consultants, and it's about imposter syndrome. I always bring in the fact that think about the culture of the workplace, because if you're being told all of the time that you're not capable, you're not good for this, or you're being doubted, guess what happens? We internalize it. And so it's not about,
and it starts to manifest.
Absolutely.
Which is so unhealthy. It's so sad. Yes. And you said something there, and I thought, as well as, if it will come back to me, I'd be very pleased. Not just a women's issue. Yes. What we do and how we cheer and support women is nothing to do with disliking or disrespecting men at all. And I just I often make that clear. It's just that I work, because I have wonderful men on my podcast. We can learn from each other.
Absolutely.
And if only companies and corporations would understand that with women on boards, their companies will thrive and grow so much better. The figure with that is incredible. It's billions.
Yes.
Then they would make a huge difference, because I think it's very important for men and women to converse, discuss, come to a place where we're all performing and supporting each other to perform at our optimum. But
Yes.
so we've got a lot of work to do, Cornelia.
We have, but it's exciting,
Yeah,
and it
it's
is
hard.
exciting
Yeah, it's
as you
rewarding.
can, yeah,
Mm.
and you can see things moving. And as you say, it's not about disliking men. I actually think we need balance.
Yes.
Um, that for me is the perfect scenario.
Yes.
Seeing balance boards,
Yeah.
equal.
Yeah, and just being comfortable and happy to work together. Put
Yes,
aside all of these stupid male female gender issues and just work together as humans.
yes,
Let's try. And what I'll do when I publish this podcast, I will look up that figure. It was from McKinsey or Deloitte's or somewhere.
yes, yeah,
I've got it in a file somewhere, and I'll look it up.
yeah.
So, anything else you'd just like to say before I say goodbye to you? And when I say goodbye and stop recording, please stay with me for a little while.
No, I won't run off, I promise. Oh my goodness, there's so many things that.
I tell you what, why don't we do this again in a 6 months time or something and see where we're both at?
Yes, yeah, that
That
sounds
would be
great.
lovely. Okay. Cornelia, where can we find you?
And that's the easy bit, because all you need is my name. So
Okay.
Cornelia
Yes.
Raubal,
Yeah.
which I'm sure that will be in print somewhere when this podcast goes out.
Well,
There's only one of me in the entire world. So if you, I have nowhere to hide.
really.
But I'm easy to find, and I hang out quite a lot on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. I'll put your LinkedIn link alongside the podcast. So thank you so much. It has been an absolute delight to speak with you and hear some of your wisdom. And I'm looking forward to the next time as well. So, lovely audience. I hope you enjoyed that. And I'm sure you gained from it and learned from it. If you're curious about learning more, then please like and subscribe. And there'll be more podcasts, of course. Cornelia will be back. And in fact, I think it's either next week or the week after that I'm recording a podcast with her husband. And I applaud him for being a cheerleader. And we'll be back very soon. So thank you for listening. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye bye for now.